Let's get to some trickier stuff where I underexposed. Boom, perfect. Boom, perfect. This is really fun. Let's scroll around. Here's one that's like way too blue. Boom, very nice. Slightly more complex lighting. Here's one way underexposed. That looks great. Great, 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 great. Honestly, my most often edit is the next button. So I'm going to use Imagen's AI editing to edit an entire wedding that I just culled. We're going to review everything completely unedited and compare it to the final edit results all in one go. This is a particularly tricky wedding because it had a lot of mixed indoor-outdoor light with a ton of different colors shot through daytime, sunset, blue hour, and then dark, dark nighttime. So I'm finally back home after 3.5 weeks on the road, traveling for 2 different conferences and 1 little vacation stint. Finally, it's the first true vacation where I chose exactly where I wanted to go, purely just to do nothing. I ended up doing a ton of work. I suffer from whatever condition means when I have absolutely nothing to do, I work like a machine. And when I have a ton of stuff I have to get done, I procrastinate and don't do anything. It's been a while since I've been able to record up in this loft space, so I'm glad to be back here. The very first leg of my trip was spent going to the Imagen conference, which I had never attended before, and I had a lot of fun. And I got to run into some of my friends that work at all kinds of companies, but one that I kept kind of circling back to was the Imagen booth. I made a video demoing their, I think they were still in beta back then, about 2 years ago, just showing how well it AI edited a session. And the more I kept circling back to their booth, the more I kept hearing them talk about newer features that were coming along. And it just got me thinking I should probably do a little update, just demoing where the software is now in terms of performance. So there's a few different companies in this space now, and some do local processing on the computer, some do server-side cloud processing of the edits, and Imagen does the latter. They do the cloud server-side processing, which ultimately means they can push out changes to their algorithm really, really rapidly because it's all done in a centralized spot. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to do a quick edit, showing you exactly what the Imagen output looks like on a wedding that I just culled today. And this wedding is particularly tricky in terms of the variety of light, a lot of indoor LED, a lot of nighttime photos. This was a beautiful wedding in Wilmington, South Carolina. Yeah, North Carolina, South Carolina. I can't even remember, but it was on the East Coast. And yes, this is a perfect example. A lot of like outdoor neon lights mixed with the sun setting, kind of blue hour. So it's going to be really interesting to see how well Imagen neutralizes all this stuff and essentially, hopefully, elevates my starting point. So my most common edit is just the next button. One of the new features they already had ready for launch right during the trade show there that I had never played with before is called the subject mask. I am definitely not the kind of photographer who wants to get in there and dodge and burn every single image so that the subject is slightly brighter and the background maybe slightly darker, mostly because that starts to cross over into a sort of different realm and skill set of almost like being an illustrator. Yeah, just not for me. Plus, it's just super time consuming. Their feature does this automatically using AI and subject masking detection. Pretty awesome. Additionally, with the subject masking tools, they're going to also be launching skin smoothing and teeth whitening so that all of that is auto-detected in your subject and done for you with, I'm pretty sure, the ability to fine-tune exactly to your own taste and style. Another feature they just launched that I'm not quite sure what to do with yet, but I'm tempted to give it away to patrons maybe, is the ability to share a profile. I think you can share a profile. I called mine BitCrusher X with up to 3 or maybe 5 people. And all you have to do is add their email address and then they can hook in to that exact profile. So if you have a studio of a couple different photographers and associates, this is definitely what you want to be doing. It should prove really useful without having to like bucket everything in one account or some other weird workaround, I guess. I'm really excited to maybe offer it to my patrons. I'm not really sure what to do with it yet, but I'll figure it out. Another thing they didn't have launched yet in software, but just kind of had screenshot previews of, they were just talking about it at their booth. I think it's coming in just a few weeks, though, pretty soon, is the ability to adjust your AI profile parameters. So you can create a relative offset if your profile needs a little bit of tweaking. Right now, the only way to do that is to fine-tune your entire experience with resending them your final edits. So if you made any tweaks, you resend it to them and they can relearn and dial it in even closer. Now you can just do that right here in the app, it looks like. Again, I don't have an actual version to play around with yet. I'm definitely going to do a test and play around whenever they actually launch it. Really excited to see how well this works. This is something I could find myself using all the time, especially since it looks like they're going to let you do a correction or just a permanent fixed value that maybe doesn't change. And that's one of the things I would really like, because the vast majority of adjustments I make are really just white balance and exposure. The way my preset is set up, and this is unique to my preset and just my personal tastes, other people's presets, this wouldn't work well at all. And that's better and worse depending on what you're looking to get out of everything. But my preset really doesn't need to have AI adjust every single, highlights and shadows and blacks slider. I really like to have most of these values totally fixed and just adjust exposure and white balance. So really, really excited to play with this. So I'm also going to make a follow-up video, probably in the next day or two, where I do a full comparison with 3 or 4 AI editing apps that are out. And that'll be for my patrons only. But I'm going to actually do this exact process that I'm about to do with Imagen 3 more times using other apps and get a direct comparison between them all, which is going to be really time consuming and annoying, but it's worth it to just see where everything's at right now. So I'm just taking a scroll through here. These are just the culled images. I have my editing preset applied, but I haven't made any adjustments manually yet. This should hopefully give you a sense of the overall variance from one scene to the next, where I didn't have my white. I usually shoot auto white balance, and sometimes in tricky scenes, the camera just goes totally off. Normally, I will manual white balance if it's so distracting in the back of the camera that it's like annoying me, but usually I just kind of roll with it. So, okay, hopefully after a scroll or two through all of this, you can kind of get a sense of that variance, especially down at the wedding reception part. That's going to be the most interesting part of the day to look at. I'm going to go ahead and bring this into the Imagen app and send it to them for uploading. We'll see how long it takes. Again, one of the things I hadn't really appreciated until recently is the fact that the cloud-based editing should allow for so much faster iteration of features and ideas. Okay, so I'm going to send 872 images. Hit add. I got Bit Crusher. I always love the straightening. I used to do crop and straightening, but I've come around to just doing straightening. It's definitely good enough. Estimated cost for 872 photos is about $52. Upload. I will fast forward this part of the video and just catch up to where it is complete and let you know how long it took. Looks like it's going to take about 5 minutes to send 870 something photos. That's pretty fast. Once everything is on server side, the edit, I would imagine this will only take about 10 minutes to get all the edits back in an email. And if you've never used Imagen before, a lot of people think that when you download the edits, you're re-downloading the same raw files. You're actually not doing that. You're just downloading text, which is very, very small. It takes like literally 2 seconds to download the edit results, because it's just the sidecar files that go along with the raw files that have all the edit data applied in text. Another thing to think about, doing the work of sending the small downsized raw files. Here you can see the Adobe DNG converter. It's creating really, really tiny, just enough resolution raw files for them to interpret the photo and apply the edits properly. But what they've hinted at is maybe at some point in the future, having the option of, it might take longer to upload, but have full res smart previews. They're about 2,500 pixels wide, and keep that as a cloud backup of your entire culled, or however many you want to send, if you want to do the unculled gallery, which is super appealing to me. We are still way far away from being able to do full raw backup in the cloud of, 5,000 images on a wedding day, or whatever the average. I'm sure it's multi-thousand images for every wedding for most photographers. My average tends to be like 6,000-7,000. To upload that as raw files, full resolution, even with Verizon Fios, it's still not fast enough to do in a practical, easy way, where my computer is just not literally always needing to be connected to the internet. We're just not there. But if they were able to do a half-size RAW file that you could still absolutely make prints from if you had to, that would be a no-brainer. Love the process of immediately uploading my project. Once it's there in Imagen's system, you wouldn't have to re-upload it again for their AI calling and their AI editing again. It would just all be there. So that's something I'm really hoping they can figure out. I have barely had any discussion with anybody other than, yeah, it sounds like a nice feature. I'm hoping they take my recommendation. We'll see what happens. But that's one big advantage to having a completely central server-side experience versus having everything done locally on your laptop. But there's trade-offs with everything. You're gonna have to decide for yourself what makes the most sense for you and your business, and which app like this actually yields the best results consistently, even in the most tricky scenarios. So I've tested a few other apps where, I'll send to them, hey, this it messed up in this section of the day, and they'll reply, well, this is really difficult lighting. And it's like, well, yeah, if I'm gonna bother with an app like this, I want it to do its best work in tedious, difficult lighting instead of me having to manually tweak things. It's great if it does fine in easy shade or sunset light. I probably captured it mostly fine anyway in camera. Where I really want an AI editing app to excel is when conditions are particularly tricky. So this is, again, a pretty good stress test to see how Imagen has improved. Okay, the upload is done. That did take just a few minutes. I think its time estimate was pretty accurate. Felt like around maybe less than 5 minutes. Now we wait to get the notification email. Another feature I asked them to implement in the app, and I'm just sending this through the regular feedback request portal like anybody else, is an audio and visual Mac OS notification. That'd be really nice. Right now they just send you an email, or you can click back into your active project and this little edit spinner will say ready for download. So let's see how long this takes. So one thing I noticed Imagen did update was the editing speed per image is now about 0.33 or so seconds per image. That's what they say. I haven't actually tested that yet, but if you want to do the math on the 872 photos I just sent them, this should take about 4 minutes, we'll say 5 minutes in. Whoop, I already got the edits back. Okay, so 8:18, and then I want to say I sent this around 8:13, 8:14. You could look at the timestamp in the video. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and say download edits. That should be extremely fast. Should take maybe like 3 seconds because it's all text at this point. Okay, so we're going to see those edits come through in my Lightroom catalog, and then I'm going to go ahead and start rendering the previews. So what you'll see is, because I have straightening on, a lot of images are going to like rotate automatically and kind of snap into a straighter perspective, while also, hopefully, all the colors and white balance shifting to my preferred editing style using my profile called BitCrusher X. So let's see how it does. My computer has full battery, so hopefully it doesn't take too long to render all these previews. Here's a really, really dark one with these shoes. Boom. That looks good. That looks great, actually. It's perfectly bright, perfect amount of warmth that I really like. Let's scroll around. Here's one that's like way too blue. Boom. Very nice. It's maybe a little too warm, but it's way, way better than that blue. Here's another blue one. Looks great. Here's the dress. That's a little blue. Boom. Perfect. Maybe a little dark. I'll touch that up. And I do regularly go back and tweak things. Like this is where, I did one pass on culling. This is where I will start to cull out images that are just too redundant. Ooh, that looks much better. Boom. Perfect. Boom. Nice. I will start to cull out everything I get at this stage if I have to tweak it too much, or again, if it's like too redundant. Let's see how the couples pictures look. That's very nice. Perfect. I would say perfect warmth for what I like. Here's a little variance between this one, that looks good, and this one. Nice shift, perfect match. Very nice. Okay, let's get to some trickier stuff where I underexposed. Boom, perfect. Boom, perfect. This is really fun. A little too warm. Boom, it got perfectly blue. Look at that. Oh my God, okay. It says that here I was way under, nice. And I should probably cull some of these out. Here's a cute one of his dad and daughter, perfect. Okay, now let's see how it does against this really gray wall. Nice, skin tone looks good. No complaints, another one, boom. And that straight snap is perfect. Here's another one, they look a little pink. Look at that. Oh my God. Okay. The computer's starting to get ahead of me, so I'm gonna skip, because seeing that snap into perfection is really gratifying. Okay, here's one where we start to get slightly more complex lighting. Here's one way underexposed. That looks great. 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 Honestly, my most often edit is the next button. It's so nice. This also should be giving you a sense of the straightening aspects. It can find a dominant line and snap right into it. Okay, here's where the light's starting to get weird, because we were under a tent that had indoor or sort of like fluorescent LED bulbs, along with the light becoming sort of blue hour. So let's see how it balances. Here's like kind of green. Ooh, I like it. Perfect. The skin tones go a little bit more brown. Ooh, here's one. Nice. Nice recovery. Very complex light there. Here's one, a kid in a screen. Perfect. This is actually really impressing me. This is the first time I've ever seen this. Here's a family. Nice. Very good. That green shift gets a little lower, or a little understated. This kind of greenish blue fluorescent light, totally no problem at all. It goes exactly the direction I want in terms of magentas and warmth. Let's get to the dance floor. I mean, just perfect. This is seriously, seriously good. Perfect. Here's some more. Perfect. 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 It's like I don't even have to think about it, really. Here's some more super blue. And that's just the camera white balance being totally off for whatever reason. It was random and inconsistent, so I didn't bother manually adjusting it. It just got confused for whatever reason in the camera in some of these scenes. But Imagen is doing an amazingly good job. Let's see about this nice, dark, underexposed one. Let's go here. Perfect. Perfection. Okay, here's one. I used a little video light. Very nice. That might be a little too warm. Ooh, that looks pretty good, though. I mean, it's literally like 90% of the way there for me. No. It's like 99% of the way there for me. Perfect. Let's see some other. Here's one of them dancing. Very nice. That looks pretty good. Maybe a little warm. I might cool that down a touch. I don't usually scrub ahead and look at it as it does all this snapping. It's just for the sake of the video. I think this is a good way to demo the before and after in pure, honest truth of what is happening. Let's see how it does here with just these like wide. It's leaning into the pink a bit there, but that's fine. I meant to capture the ambience. I wasn't using my flash with those wider shots. Here's some. That's nice. The fire. It was like way too white in camera, so it brought back some of that natural yellow. Same with this color. That looks really, really great to me. Any other sections that are really tricky? Let's go back to the blue hour where people were kind of indoor, outdoor. Too magenta. Nope. Snapped in. Snapped in. Snapped. That straighten tool saving my butt. It really makes it obvious how, even if you really try hard to make things really straight in camera, how difficult and inconsistent most people are about that. Okay, so I am super impressed. So at this stage, it would be where I go back to the very beginning and just chronological order. I use Better Touch tool and just start to make tweaks and review everything one final pass in chronological order. I do tend to call out things where the photos I just realized I don't love, or they're not very strong, or they're too repetitive and redundant. And this is also where I will convert to black and white. If it's a really powerful composition or expression, I will usually convert it to black and white, where just sort of the expression speaks for itself. Color is actually adding a distracting element. Or if there's mixed lighting and I just can't get it to work, I convert to black and white and see how it goes. But I can already tell you just from this quick sort of scan through everything that my most common edit is definitely going to be the next button. No question at all. And that has tended to be my experience using this app. It is a real pain to test a bunch of AI apps and be able to truly measure which one does better than the other. You also have to build profiles on a lot of other apps, and maybe you built one that works really well on one platform, but maybe you use a different set of raw files on another, and it just gets to be a real pain to test these things. So I'm going to take this exact same wedding and run it through a couple other apps head to head and see how it does. That video is going to be posted on my Patreon only. It's linked in the description. You can go check it out if you want to see a true head-to-head comparison against all the other apps. The truth is, even if something exists that has a better workflow or is cheaper, for me, it 100% has to boil down to the results. Are the results actually saving me time, or does it feel like it's saving me time? Or do I just want to believe it's saving me time because it costs less money or the workflow is better? Who knows? In a perfect world, we'd get everything. All editing AI for free for everyone that works super fast all the time, anywhere you're at. But that's just not the reality of how the world works, unfortunately. Hopefully you agree with me. I mean, again, this all boils down to subjectivity, but the results that I just scanned through here are pretty compelling and well worth the $50 I spent to the initial AI edits across everything in this gallery. Again, it elevates the starting point of where I want to come in and make tweaks so much higher that I not only save time, I have a lot more energy to commit, making more tweaks than I otherwise would want to, if I need to make any tweaks at all. So I'm going to end this there. Hopefully you found this helpful. They have come a long, long way since my initial video 2-3 years ago. The entire brand and app has been rebuilt. And I'm glad to do this completely unrehearsed real-time demo on this wedding and see that I'm still very happy with the results. So leave any questions in the comments. You can reach out to me directly also, or I am very active on my Patreon. As always, thank you so much for your time, and I will be back soon. Bye, everyone.